we'll start here. So Jerusalem stands as a symbol of profound historical significance, cultural diversity, and political complexity. Do you guys know anything about Jerusalem, the city itself, besides the fact that it has some relation with Jesus? Do you know anything about political conflicts or religious significance? Yes.
Doesn't Palestine have at least governmental control right now, or something or another like that?
Yes, so I am actually technically from Palestine, which we will learn more about the difference. They're the same area of land, but some people call it Israel, some people call it Palestine, and they have this big conflict between them. We're going to go over it and see kind of a little bit about it, but its geographic features are also very important. They're deeply rooted in culture because of the way that they are connected to so many people, so many religions. Their governmental structure is interesting. We'll learn more about that. Their economic activities, because of tourism, people travel from all over the world to go there. And human rights, because of the war that has been happening for the last 80-something years. Okay, we can go on. We'll start with geography. It's pretty cool. Jerusalem is in the Judean mountains, which, if you guys are familiar with the Bible talks about the Judean mountains and the tribes of Judah. It all comes from that place. It holds strategic importance with its elevated position because the city is actually surrounded by these ancient walls. Not all of the walls remain now, but you can still see the residue of these walls around the city of Jerusalem itself. There is technically two parts of Jerusalem. If you go there, there's the old city, and then there's the more modern, industrialized city part where there is lots of big architectural structures there. The older city, we will see it in a little bit, has more of these alleyways. It has a lot of religious sites where it's like, this is where Jesus walked. This is where, because it's very important for three religions: Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. The most significant, geographic features would be the Mount of Olives, which is mentioned in the Bible as well, Mount Zion, and the Kidron Valley. So these three you would say these are the most significant geographical sites. And then we have obviously many iconic landmarks and buildings that have nothing to do with, they're man-made, but they're just as important. Okay, we can. So culture in Jerusalem. When I just mentioned Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, do you guys know, when you see these three pictures, do any of them look familiar? Which one?
The Western Wall.
Yes. So these are the three most significant sites in Jerusalem when it comes to religion. Here it says it serves as a nexus for religious, cultural, and ethnic diversity because it literally has people from every single ethnicity, every race, and the three main Abrahamic religions are all extremely attached to the city. That's why there's so much conflict there. Everyone wants it to be their holy land. The Western Wall, of course, do you want to guess which religion it's related to? Out of the three? Any guesses? Yes.
Christianity?
So it's technically important in Christianity, yes, but it's mainly centered around Judaism and the Jewish people. They go there and they pray. They will put their heads on it and they will talk to God there. So it's mainly, anybody can go there, but it's very, very important for the Jewish people. And then we have the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. I have a really hard time saying that word, yeah. But this church is very, very old, and it's very significant for Christianity as well. Lots of Christian events happen in that church. It's honestly a miracle that it's still standing, considering all of the conflict religion-wise. And then we have the Dome of the Rock. Have you ever seen that? It's pretty, yeah, it's a nice architectural structure. It is related to the religion of Islam. The dome is made of gold, and then the inside is like, it's believed that if you make one prayer inside, it's as valuable as like 1,000 prayers anywhere else. So that is mainly why all these three religions kind of fight to try and get the city, because each one of them has its most important religious sites there. Like if you believe that your prayer is worth 1,000 prayers there, of course you're going to want to claim it as your own. So there's lots of conflict, and we can only pray that some of it gets resolved. Okay. Role of government. You made a really good point about Palestine and Israel, and which one kind of is responsible for governing the city. It's deeply intertwined with political complexities because of the two sides. It's still to this day a city that is not, this hasn't been resolved. So there's still war right now. Maybe you've heard about it, but and it's the capital of, technically the capital of Israel, that is Jerusalem. But the Palestinians, they really aspire to have the east side of Jerusalem as their own. Technically, it's both, it's the same land, and two sides are fighting for the same thing. And, you know, that is the main contributor to this war that is heartbreaking to me and many other people. But the municipality of Jerusalem administers values. It creates all these political systems, and it's mainly governed by the Israeli government. So it's not the Palestinian government mainly. Here it mentions a little bit, it talks a little bit about when it comes to government, the issue with Jerusalem is that it's not just about Jerusalem. All over the world, governments kind of interfere in Jerusalem's government, so they will set these rules and laws, and that creates tension, it creates violence, and then that makes it even more complicated. So people, like, their governments create rules. The UK is one of them. America is one of them. There are all these different laws set up. And so it remains to this day a kind of a mess when it comes to government. But we can move on to the next slide. Economy. Talking about Jerusalem, most people either think of its religious significance when it comes to Christianity, and then, or they will think about it tourism-wise, because, you know, many people want to go there because they are either from there. If they're not from there, they're more than likely going to be from the religion that they follow. So if you're a Christian, you would love to go see where Jesus walked, where people, like, it's very important for Christianity, then it's just as important for Islam and Judaism. So people, its main economic source is tourism. Its economy is still diverse, though, because besides tourism, there's technology, education, its healthcare system and religious services are all intertwined with the economy of Jerusalem. On the left side, you kind of can see what the old city looks like. It's filled with these tiny, tiny alleyways, and within those alleyways, these markets, and these markets have all kinds of different products and services, and they have these really old Like you can find spices, you can find fabric. It's a beautiful experience. That is the old part, and it's kind of been preserved because of all of it, how old it is and what it means for the city. But then in the middle, the picture in the middle kind of represents one of the architectural structures in the city. I believe this has not been done yet. At least it hasn't been finished. But it's just one of the examples of kind of how advanced they are architecturally, because it is separated from the modern world that we live in is there. But at the same time, there is this whole old culture to it that is, they're trying their best to preserve it and keep it alive for the people to continue experiencing it. And then this is what it looks like when it comes to people. If you see, this is kind of near the wall that we just talked about. And if you see these people down there, there's literally, if you walk in within that crowd, you'll notice that there's literally people from all over the world. And it's a beautiful scene. That is just how it is in that city. It's just such a monumental city to the whole world. And yeah. Yes.
Outside of outside of wars and politics, would you say that people there get along well despite the religious differences?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. I would say it is just like anywhere else. People at their core, they just want to get along at their core. They just don't know how to do it. Oftentimes, people will fight and they are fighting for the same thing. So I would say yes to that, because I have seen people get along and they're so far apart politically, so far apart religiously. My family and I are very different and we get along just fine. But when you have people or governments that are trying to keep you in a state where you're not getting along, it can be very difficult because you have to be aware of what they're doing. And some of the people are there. Many people there fall into this political unrest and violence and war, and it's literally has been happening for decades, generations at this point. But thank you for that question. Human rights is a big part of Jerusalem because of the whole area of Palestine and Israel. It says the issue of human rights in Jerusalem is complex and multifaceted. Palestinians in East Jerusalem face challenges regarding residency because it has been acknowledged by the United States as the capital of Israel. Palestinians kind of have a hard time having land, having homes, things like that. And it is a very complex conversation, but human rights advocates are often involved in that, trying to make sure that everyone is on equal ground, everyone has the same rights, and that is the issue that is still happening right now. And we pray for peace there, and because at the end of the day, it is such a significant area, and yeah, peace is what is the aspiration for most people there, I would say. I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions about anything we talked about so far?
I have a question about the education, so because you said that was kind of one of the things that they focused on a lot too. So how does
Yes.
the education system look different than ours? Do you know, like?
So what I know about it, I went to school in Dubai.
Okay.
I went to college in Dubai. But what I know about it is it depends on where you are.
Okay.
Some parts of Jerusalem are strictly Jewish. Other parts are, Muslim. And their education, so just like here, you have a Christian school or a public school, they will have these different schools. And whenever you're going to a Jewish school, the curriculum will be a little bit different. Versus, I guess a Muslim school. And that is another thing. They are also kind of at each other's throats when it comes to the school system, because they would like to have like a public school system, but they can't really figure out how to do that without stepping on one or the other's religion's toes. Or yeah, yes, I'll get to you.
So, when you came back to like the United States, what was like your biggest culture shock?
That's an amazing question, and I don't know where to start. I would say this though, just to kind of give you an idea. When I came to the US, I genuinely, if you told me this is not the US, this is Mars, or this is some other planet, I would have believed you, because it was that different for me. I would wake up, I would open my eyes, and I wouldn't even know where I am for a good minute or so, because I was like, what is any of this? It's so different. But maybe to me it was like that. Maybe to someone else coming it would be different. But for me, how I lived, where I lived, it was completely different. Like the people were different, the food, the environment, just like looking outside and seeing what I saw, it was so different for me. So like I would almost say everything was a cultural shock for me. It took me a good while to get used to things here. Yeah, yes.
What's been a difference you've appreciated, and what's been a difference you don't like as much?
Oh, that's a great question too. I would say a difference I appreciated is how I guess every single person here has the ability to be whatever they want. Where I'm from, I'll get you just a second. Where I'm from, you kind of have to align with certain values and morals. If you don't do something that, let's say, society or your family want you to do, literally your neighbors, your aunts, your uncles, everyone kind of gangs up on you until you get to fall back in line, kind of. And that has good things about it and bad things, of course. The good thing is I don't know a single person on drugs, never seen anyone drunk, because everyone is like, the moment they kind of step aside into the line of where people think you shouldn't go, you get corrected quickly. But the bad part is that, you end up having to adhere to a lot of expectations and things like that. But yeah. Yes, I'll get to you in a second.
Back to the school system, do different religious schools have different subjects they focus on? Like, for example, would a Muslim school have more math subjects, while, say, a Jewish school would have more language subjects?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I'm not too sure about that. I don't want to answer when the true answer is I'm not sure. I do know that they teach different curriculums when it comes to religion and language. I don't know about math, science, which school focuses on what. I think that it will depend on where you go. But for the most part, you will learn. And there are these schools that kind of combine both together, but sometimes you'll find these schools that teach exclusively Arabic while the other schools teach exclusively Hebrew, and that's how they're different. Yes.
What is one thing you miss the most about living there?
I miss the place because I spent basically my whole life in Dubai, and I didn't get to experience where I'm from, or and I think maybe it was easier for me to not have been there during my childhood and stuff, because now I don't know what I'm missing. But I was blessed enough to have a family that conserved the language, the food we ate is all from there, the recipes we made, the music we listened to. So I'm able to connect to it in other ways, but I definitely just miss being there. It's where, technically my home. Yeah, yes.
So what made you move to the United States, and what did you go to college for?
Yes, I actually studied architectural engineering. I was still in school. Architectural engineering is almost 7 years in Dubai. And by year 4, I met my husband through a friend. She was Australian and she introduced us to each other, but I wasn't willing to give up school and come to the US. So I was determined to finish school, that I still had 3 years left. And I told my husband, who was, just my fiance at the time, that I'm going to stay and do 3 more years. If you can wait for me, I'll marry you. If you don't wait for me, I will marry you. And he did wait. So I kind of had to follow through with my words and come. And even though when I graduated, I was like, oh no, now I have to do what I said I will do, because I didn't want to leave my whole family. I have a big family, and I was the very first person to leave the house. We all lived together. That's how we do. And telling my mom I was leaving, she hated my husband for a good 3 years in the beginning, yeah. Just because he was the one who took me from her. But now she loves him. He's her favorite, so it worked out.
How long have you actually been living in the US?
Yes, I've been here, I would say 5.5 years. Yeah. Yes.
Do you know what the college acceptance is in Israel?
The college, sorry?
Acceptance rate?
I honestly have no idea. Why? Are you thinking about going to college there?
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I have no idea, honestly. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. That's a good question, though. Yes.
So as far as religious or cultural background goes,
Yes.
where does your family fall in that? Because you talked there were a few different groups there.
Yes, my family is actually the Arabians, which are technically the Palestinians. Our ancestry goes, we have literally, I don't know any of my ancestors that did not come from that place. And it's very interesting because it's depending on the name of the place, things shift. So, when my grandma was there, it was Palestine, now it's Israel. Before that, there's a whole history to it. But I'm technically the Arabian section of it, I guess. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
If you could change one thing about the US to make it like Jerusalem,
Oh no.
but only one thing.
I would say I probably honestly wouldn't change anything, just because if I did, it wouldn't be the US. And I think there's a place for all of these places. The US has its issues, but so does Jerusalem. And so does any country that you can point out, that's the thing that we have to keep remembering, that people are people no matter where they're from. They have their issues, they have their amazing, beautiful things about them, whether you're in Jerusalem, whether you're in Yemen, or you're in the US. Yeah. Yes.
So how did your family at least make their way to Dubai from Jerusalem?
Yes, that's a good question. My grandma, with her kids, during the war in the 40s, she decided to move, and she moved from Nablus, which is this baby's name, to Jerusalem, and then from Jerusalem to Jordan, and then from Jordan to Qatar, if you know that country, and then from Qatar to Dubai. And it mainly happened that way because they escaped the war, but they didn't know where to go, they didn't have roots anywhere. So they kind of moved around until they found a way to settle down, get good jobs, and start their lives. Yeah. Any other questions?
What kind of jobs did your family have there?
So my grandfather, he was like the manager of this fishing, I guess it's a fishing company, but they have these big boats, and they would go out into the sea and they would fish. And yeah, it provided him a very, very good place in life, because the city was centered around fishing still. And that's what he did. My father, I think he was in the police, That's what I know about them. I don't actually know much about my extended family. So right now they're in Jerusalem. There is war there, and I don't know anything about them. I don't know if they're okay or not. I just have a connection with my immediate family: my sisters, my brother, my mother, and my father. Yes.
Women typically work, I'm sorry, Abby.
You're fine.
Women typically work, like your mom, did she work too? Or was it more of a, like, she took
Stay
care
at
of
home.
the family and,
Yeah, that culture is prevalent there in the Middle East in general. The mom takes care of the babies, the dad works. But they do, my mom had every intention of working. She went to college, but then she married my father. She dropped out because of that. But my grandma actually can't even write her name.
okay.
Yeah, she didn't go to school at all, not even grade, like first grade. So, yeah, it just depends. You'll find families that are more open and some families that are way, way traditional, especially to the American standard. Yeah, because to them, it's like a given. Of course, a mom has to stay home and take care of the baby and cook, and that's just how it is. Yeah, yeah, yes.
So does your immediate family live here in the U.S. or do they still live there?
I came here by myself. They're all there still. Yeah.
Is it hard being away from them?
It's one of the hardest, it's probably the hardest thing I've ever done to this day still. But if I didn't come here, I wouldn't be a Christian. So if I had to trade my own family for my faith, I would go with my faith. And sometimes I feel like that's kind of the trade-off I ended up doing. So, but yes.
So when you got married to your husband, did you do any like cultural traditions at your wedding?
That's a good question. My husband is actually more into Jerusalem, their food and their like everything than I am. He's like, I'm willing to listen to English music. He's like, no, I want to hear all about yeah, he's completely into it. And because my family were not there when we got married, because I was by myself, we didn't do anything big. But we still kind of try to incorporate certain things. We still, to this day, he's very, very open, and I guess you could say he's very interested in my culture, which I love so much because it allows me the ability. So he's trying to learn the language right now. It's been 6 years and he probably knows the alphabets. But I think maybe by the time I talk to this one, maybe he will pick up on the language a little bit more. But
How old is she?
she's 2 months. Yes.
So for like, I know that like some cultures have different ways to celebrate like birthdays and stuff.
Yes.
So like, what was that like for your family?
That's a good question. We actually did not have birthday cake until way later. It's not something they do. For birthdays, you usually ask the person what they want to eat, and then everyone will kind of make that for them, and then we will sit together and eat that. Otherwise, I would say a lot of birthday traditions came from the West. Like we would sing happy birthday, but it was in Arabic, it was in English. You'd have banners and signs. Our birthdays weren't really big things. It's just like you have a few banners and then a meal at the end of the day and maybe a few gifts, and that's it. But yeah, that's what we would do. Any other questions? Yes.
So like how many or what languages do you know?
What language I speak, or what languages in Jerusalem?
You.
Me, I speak Arabic and English. So Arabic is actually the daughter language of Aramaic. There was Aramaic during Jesus' time, and then Arabic came from Aramaic. Yes.
So, I guess from learning Arabic, would you be able to read or recognize patterns in Aramaic?
I would say I can probably know some of the alphabets. Aramaic is actually technically considered a dead language. In Jerusalem or in the area itself, there is like a small tribe of people that still speak it to this day, but you wouldn't really find anyone else speaking it. I kind of
The Assyrians, right? They speak the Aramaic.
so I'm not sure actually. I know that the people of that land spoke Aramaic, but I guess I need to learn more about Aramaic. But all I know about it honestly is that Arabic came from it. And if I see it, some of the alphabets are similar to Arabic, but I wouldn't be able to like read an Aramaic script. Yeah.
It might be like knowing English and seeing Latin.
Yeah.
Like you might see little bits and pieces.
Yeah. Yes.
Is Arabic the most common language in Israel?
I would say no. The most common language by now would be Hebrew. That's what. But if you speak Hebrew, you probably speak Arabic as well, because again, Hebrew has a lot of similarities, and kind of like if you go here to some parts of the U.S., so some parts in Texas and Arizona, they speak a lot of Spanish, but they also speak English. It's kind of like that. Even if they speak one, they're more than likely able to speak the other, or at least understand it. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
When did you become a Christian?
It was now, I would say, 3.5 years ago. It was about a year and a half after I came here. Yeah. And I'm glad I did. Yes.
For like, I know like, so you kind of asked this.
Take your time.
So for like churches here, like service-wise, is it like different from like Christian services in the?
I would say, just like here there are different denominations. There is non-denominational, Catholic, Protestant, things like that. It's the same way there. The churches I went to, where I'm from, I wasn't a Christian there, but the churches I got to visit and look at were Catholic churches. Now I know that they were, because back then I just thought all Christians were Catholic. I didn't know much about it. Yeah, I know. But I would say it's kind of the same when it comes to denominations. It depends on which. Some churches look like, a plain building. The Catholic churches have a lot more ornate things and drawings and things. So, yeah. It's the same way. I do miss, if you guys ever get curious, you can listen to worship music in Arabic or Hebrew. It's very, very nice. I love worship music in English, but in those two languages, it's very artsy and just very relaxing to me. You can check it out and see what it's about. Yes.
So what has been one of the like your favorite foods that you had over there that you wish they had here?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's something there called matlube. Matlube, it literally means upside down, because they just put a bunch of stuff at the bottom, and then they put a mountain of rice with spices and stuff on top, and then they close it, they cook it for like 5 hours, and then they flip it. So yeah, it's called matlube because it's like upside down. I miss that a lot. There's so much. I don't know if you know shawarma, falafel, or falafel, like you guys say. All these things I miss so much, and food there is so cheap. You can buy like a whole meal for the equivalent of like a quarter here. Yeah, when my husband came to see me multiple times, he would bring like $500, and he would stay like 2 weeks. The food was super cheap to him. And now that I'm here in America, I'm like, every time I convert, like if I spend $20 on a meal, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's $150. That's too much. I'm not gonna spend that much, But yeah, I definitely miss the food. I would say my family there, but not that far, and underneath them would be the food. Yes.
So when you lived there, were you allowed to eat like bacon?
You are not allowed. No. And to this day, I can't eat any pork product just because the taste. And something about when I was very little, they would tell me like, pork has worms in it, and it has these creatures that will attack your stomach, and like, so I think to this day, if it's pork, I don't want to touch it.
I'm so sorry.
Wait, do you not eat pork, or do you eat kosher completely?
I don't eat pork now just because I don't like the taste. But I don't think I eat kosher. I don't have a lot of rules around food now, because I'm a Christian now. The Bible specifically said there are no rules, but you know, I have preferences. I just won't eat pork out of, yeah. Yes.
Well, I was saying, like, I guess there's probably just a difference in how swine is, I guess, farmed.
I would say it's not even farmed there. You wouldn't find,
It's all wild.
yeah, exactly. They don't have people, it's not a thing eating pork. In fact, they kind of hate pigs. They don't like pigs. You know, yeah, they have all these sayings like pigs can't look up because God hates them. And he doesn't want them to look at him, and pigs truly cannot look up. That's a fact. But I don't think it's because God hates them.
I just don't think that.
I mean, I eat turkey bacon. I don't know. Anyone else? Do you guys have any other questions I can answer? Yes.
Is it legal to eat pork there?
I don't think it's illegal. It's just frowned upon. It's like here, it's not illegal to eat horse or, you know, dogs. Is it not illegal? I feel
I
like,
hope it is. I don't know.
I feel like it should be.
In some states, it is.
So you can't eat dogs because you have to butcher them to do so.
I don't know. I don't think it's illegal. I think it's just, yeah, frowned upon. They eat camel though. Yeah, they eat camel, sheep, and goats, chickens, fish, shrimp, things like that. Yeah, I actually never ate a cow or steak or whatever until I came here. Everything there, even hamburgers, are made with sheep meat or lamb. Yeah.
You in Dubai?
Yes. I mean, if you went, I think if you went to like McDonald's there, maybe. But we didn't really eat at those places very much, but yes.
What's your favorite like meal here?
That's a good question. Favorite meal? I would say, is mashed potatoes a meal? I like mashed potatoes. Yeah, I can make a meal out of it if I put enough in my plate. But I like mashed potatoes. I never had it. There's so much that I never had, like casseroles. We don't have casseroles. I like some casseroles here. Shepherd's pie, mainly because of the mashed potatoes. But yeah, yeah, yes.
You know what I find interesting is our last guest speaker was he's a Navy veteran and he's a pilot. He's a commercial pilot.
Okay.
He said his favorite place in the whole world. But correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't he say Dubai?
Yeah.
He said that's his favorite
Yeah,
place.
Oh.
in the world.
Culture, the architect, the whole
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Dubai is my second home. That's where I spent most of my life. And the thing about Dubai, though, is even if you were born there, you don't get citizenship. Like, you only, I think 20% of the people there have citizenship. Everybody else is like a foreigner and forever will be. You cannot gain citizenship. You have to be born into it. But the country itself is, or the city itself and the country is amazing. They have, I think they're the second safest city in the world. It's very safe. It's very calm. They have zero homelessness, no drugs whatsoever. But it's mainly because they're kind of cutthroat when you think about it. Because if you have, let's say you found a drug and you became addicted, like I said, the culture of everyone will target you until you're clean of whatever your problem is. Yeah.
And so I wonder, have you ever taken like the Holy City tour where Jesus walked and stuff? Like, have you done that?
No, I haven't. we worry about the place because we don't know what's happening there, because you can't trust the news. You can't, like, you don't know what to believe, how it is. So maybe one day, that's one of my like dreams, to go there and actually not feel like, in danger. And yeah, have you been able to?
No, but my mom has.
Yeah, she told me. Yeah.
My dad just went there last year, I think,
Oh.
2 years ago. And what's it called that it only happens like every 5 or 10 years? It's like a play, I think.
Oh, I was gonna say the year of Jubilee,
No.
but that's like every 100 years.
It's like a really big play that it means a lot in Christianity, but I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I'm not sure.
Christians we are.
Anyhow, he got to see it, and he actually bought like I don't know what kind of horn, and he brought it back, and they almost made it throw it away in the airport. I don't know what kind of horn it is.
Oh.
It's June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made it
I don't know if you ordered
You guys have any other questions? This has been super interesting. So now's your chance.
Any other questions?
Do you get to go back very often, or have you been back since you?
No. I've been back to Dubai. I saw my family a few times, but it's about 26-hour flight altogether. One flight is almost 18 hours straight, and then the other one is like 4 hours. But the one that's 18 hours is brutal. It's like I get so claustrophobic every time.
Yeah.
Me
too. I would too.
We should do a trip to Dubai.
Yeah, I was going to say we should go.
in 3 years.
The
Why
money we make.
The nice thing about it is Dubai is extremely fancy. Very, very rich people. Everything there is amazing. But it's so much cheaper than the US. So like literally you would be like a king or a queen in Dubai. And you would maybe have like a normal life here. That's why they have so many foreigners there, because yeah.
Maybe that's God's way of telling us we need to go.
I'm sure that is.
Make it happen.
plane tickets is the only problem.
Yeah.
We
Well,
got
the plane ticket is right.
Yes, very expensive, the tickets there.
That's why we start making
Yes.
money now.
Is it hard to get a job in Dubai?
It actually is, yeah. Because there are so many people from all over the world. I think almost 80% of people there are not from Dubai. And there's only so many jobs. And a lot of people there don't want to take these smaller jobs. They only want the bigger jobs. So it actually can be hard. But again, with a lot of jobs, it depends on your connections, who you know, who can get you a job, things like that. Any other questions before?
Yeah, you guys have any other questions?
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to talk about something I really love. I mean, this is the first time I get to share about Jerusalem, and yeah,
It's
that's.
a beautiful slideshow too.
Yes.
It's working tonight.
Thank you. Oh. She was like, whoa.